Hello everyone, thank you for being here. It is 4 years almost that I'm working in data science, different fields, starting from the data analytics, and now currently I'm working in computer vision. My educational background is French University, and I had really good courses on statistics, and after a while I decided to change my domain to IT. So I went to American University Computer Information Science. Then with having internships and courses of data science, I decided that data science is one of the fields that you combine three main things: programming, business, and statistics, which are one of the three main points that I really love about it. Today I'm going to present about data ethics, one of the most important topics currently, because all of us, all the companies are using our data or taking data to do data science, but where that data comes from, or are the things that are doing, is it ethical or not? Is my presentation ready? Yes, thank you. Where is the clicker? So, first of all, I want to talk about that even now we're sitting here, all the data is collecting. We have videos, we have audio, all the phones are here, you are texting. So all of these things are data, and in some point we are having data anxiety because data is too much, and companies are saying that data is not that much, but that is real, because today I'm going to talk about that point, that it seems that data is a lot, but useful data is not that much. So why is like that? I'm going to talk about the data anonymity. What is data anonymity actually? All the data is collected, some kind of are anonymized. It means that companies can't use it. But some of the data that we have currently is not anonymized that much or encrypted, which are the data that some of them can be biased, some of them are not useful for the business. But there are some part of this data that are important and are not anonymized, can use it in a wrong way. I want to talk about few examples and real case scenarios that were real in the world. So, bad anonymization example, you can currently see it here. We're seeing the two tables, names, and one table with names, one table without names and without zip code. This is one of the bad anonymization data examples. Imagine a case that you're living in a small town and some company data scientists want to do some analysis on a data set. So they're taking this one hospital that exists in that town, they're taking that people's data, and they're trying to predict disease or diagnostic or some other things that you can imagine. So the main goal is when everyone knows each other in a small town, when you are just removing a name, we can see Rebecca here, which is like Rebecca female, the only female that is just around 50 years. And if everyone knows Rebecca and she's almost every day visiting the hospital, just removing her name doesn't mean that the data is safe for her, because everybody gonna know that she has a really serious disease that she didn't want to share with other people. So this is one of the things and main issues that we need to understand as data scientists, as people who are doing researches, as companies, to create a product that won't harm people. About the Netflix competition case. So Netflix every year was announcing a competition that we're giving $1 million for a group of people, researchers, that were improving their recommendation system. If you're using Netflix, I think you know that it has really good recommendation system. And the only data that they give as an anonymized data, which is like not that good, it was just user's ID, a list of the movies that they had rated, and the rating, of course, the rating score from 1 to 5, and the date that they provided this rating. Scientists started to work at this project, and 99% of the time they were finding the exact person that was watched that film and rated. And how that happened? Because data scientists had the providing date of rating. So they connected that data set to the IMDb, and they figured out between day 1 and day 15, one user can just go and comment on that movie or rate that movie in IMDb. So connecting two data also caused problems, and Netflix closed this competition because one of the users says like, you are harming and my family would know that I'm watching a series that is not that much good, and that caused family problem for me. And as we know, in international laws, there are ethical rules that now in Armenia or in our region, we don't have it. So that caused them to close the competition. So how things can go wrong, actually? We have machines and we have algorithms that we feed our algorithms with a lot of data. So we need to be careful what data we are feeding them, because when you're feeding a data that is not that much ethical or is not right, and sometimes we as a data scientist, we figure out that we weren't expecting this result and we don't know where is the problem. We don't know how to fix it. So choosing right data for your project, it can be vary, because there is no one definition for having the right data. Maybe one data is good for your project and another data is good for other people. So this is a complex thing that we need to think about it and be careful. I want to talk about the main issue of the data, which is the biased data. What is biased data? The data is not that much, like comparing to the reality is not real, or it's old. For example, I can say like historical data about the employment is kind of not that right, because it's biased, because 100 years ago, more male were just working, and now a lot of females are also having employment, having businesses, and using a data that is old is not that much good, and you need to do research before using it. The other case that can be, for example, if there are male data scientists, all of them are working in a case, and for example, gender recognition case. There was and this is a real case that I want to talk about. They figure out that their model, if the ears are closed of a person's face, it means that that person is female. It means if a boy has a long hair, he is also a female. Or if a female has a short hair, she's a male. So that is one of the cases that they were not thinking about, because there were not that much discussion. So they fixed it. Actually, it's a fixable problem, but also that is kind of a biased thing. So in data science, we generally say like garbage in, garbage out. In this case, we can also say if something is biased, bias in and bias out. One of the serious cases that Google, I mean, like everyone knows Google is best, they have best data scientists, but they really failed. It was that it detected African Americans as gorillas. So this is also comes from the data bias. I mean, me as a data scientist, I think the problem was they weren't having enough data of African Americans living in the US or other countries. So this caused this problem, and it was a big scandal for Google. And they just solved this problem as just removing the data of monkeys, gorillas, and to solve this issue, which is a really, really big, I mean, like problem. So, biased data, where can it come from? I mean, we are always thinking, okay, don't use biased data, and where it comes from? It comes from different wrong choices that we do, or different old data that I already mentioned. One of them is like when you're doing a research, you're thinking about one group. For example, if you're developing something in Armenia, For example, face recognition. We're taking just Armenian people's faces. But if we want something international, or we want our product to work on other people's faces also, we need more international data, which means the grouping, and also the random selection of our data is important, and having different kind of groups, not focusing just one group, because algorithms are working. Like, I learned this, okay, this is it. If it's not, it's wrong. So we need to be careful about this point. And also systematic measurement error is also one of the errors that we can see. So how we can identify our bias? This is a little bit tricky and challenging, and there is no strict definition that if you do this, you will find it is bias, because most of the time you're doing a lot of things, but sometimes there will be some bias in the data, and during the project you figure it out. But before starting, you need to be careful of these points, to not just like understanding that your data or your product is biased in the middle of the production. So that is not something that we want. First of all, understand that where the data was generated. So data can be from two places. If you're working in a company, or you're collecting it, either you're collecting it, you're taking from other places, or another company gives you that data to work on it. So you need to understand where that data comes from, and what is the origin of it. The other thing is comprehensive explanatory data analysis, which means when you're having a data, don't start quickly. I know we are just enthusiasts that we want to see the result. Yeah, I have the data, let's run the algorithm and see what I have. No, before starting that kind of enthusiastic thing, be a little bit patient, and be careful of this point, because you need to explore what is in your data, and maybe there are some group of data or things noises that you need to remove it. How you can correct the bias. So these are the things that we do before starting. And when you understand there is a bias, how we can correct it. The first thing is pre-processing. This is, I don't know, 70% of data scientists hate this part, because we're doing a lot of data cleaning, and the fun part is just like 10% of the time. But data cleaning is one of the key things that as a data scientist we need to be careful. Do data processing, clean your data as much as you can to come to the nearest to the reality. The other thing is in-processing. In-processing is mainly for changing things in the algorithm. For example, if we have a small group, imbalanced groups of data, for example, we have more male in the data than female, we're giving more weight to female, so that will be more balanced and the bias will decrease. The other thing is post-processing after the training. This is about testing. We need to test our data in different examples, in different aspects. Even it's really good when you're just asking your colleague data scientists that are not working in the same project that you are, and you just ask their ideas or ideas of testing, and you ask them, can you just see what kind of data you want me to test on this algorithm. So these are the important things that we need to be careful. So we talk about this the data and biases and all the ethical things, but now I want to talk about the really important positions that all the main and big companies like Facebook, Netflix, Google, they have this position, because it is a big challenge for all these companies to have ethical products and just not frustrating their users. AI ethicist is a new position that comes and is really popular in these days. What is the exact position does is like this data scientist or someone that knows really good political aspects, cultural aspects of the country, tries to balance business and the technical service, which means that it won't let you, the business, to have a product that is not ethical, and that can harm big fines for a company, because as we know, GDPRs exist in Europe, and there are other laws in America, especially in California. This kind of wrong decisions of the data and wrong decisions for the product can cause cultural, society, or legal issues. So this position is really important. It's like having an environmental assistant or advisor in the oil company. So now let's talk about what is the main points of starting a project that we need to be careful. First of all, we need to have research and domain experts, like someone like AI ethicist in the domain that knows all the ethical issues that can happen. The other thing that is important, try to collect the fair data, try to collect the data that is realistic. We have a lot of data that are just public data sets for education. We have like cats and dogs data set that is so clean. We're happy that we're studying about them. But real data is really different. I mean, whoever has worked with real data, we know that it's so far different from the academical data that we have. When we have a data currently, we need to examine it. We need to understand it is biased or not. We need to discuss this kind of data, this kind of project with a domain expert. For example, if you are working in a finance and we don't have any financial background, if we are working in for example, any medical issues, we need to have someone that knows that issue, because there can be a lot of cases that in our opinion, it's right, actually. Data was this, we didn't have any data, the prediction was right, so that's it. But when a doctor is just seeing that it's not right, so we need to trust human. And the point is like, always remember that don't trust blindly the algorithm result. As I said, for example, there was a case that researchers were working on a case of predicting if the hospital, this person that comes to hospital needs an emergency case or not, and they were not having data about asthmatic people. So that's why they were saying like, okay, asthmatic people, if they're coming to hospital, they can go home. But they didn't have any data, and doctors were saying, no, they are the people that goes first to emergency room. That's why we don't have any data. So trusting someone that knows the field, and don't trust blindly to the result, and always review and check. And the final point that I want to talk about is it is possible to make your algorithm, to make your project ethical, but it causes us the accuracy. I mean, first of all, it's challenging to explain your algorithm what is ethical. You need to understand it in mathematical way. For example, for me, ethical is that we don't know the name or something else. You need to describe the ethical for yourself in your product. But you need to understand that accuracy will decrease. And the thing is now, we all should know about that. This is really important because we are making products for users, and users need to trust us. And if we have something unethical, the trust will decrease. It means like the product won't be that appreciated, that good. So thank you for your attention. If you have questions, solutions, or idea, I'm here to listen. Thank you.
Thank you for our presentation. And as you have mentioned, you are working at SmartClick.
Yes.
I want to know what kind of problems are you solving there, and do you using ethic data or not?
Sure. So currently I'm working on license plate detection, which is like computer vision program. It's like statistics about cars, colors, and that kind of things. And we don't have that kind of ethical thing now because the data collection is, we have a company that data collection is okay with them. And so that is the thing. The ethical kind of issues come from when you are making a product that is directly comes from the people. I mean, like cars, I don't think that cars' emotion will get hurt if we're collecting their license plates. But if we have, for example, recording the cars, we're recording in a way that we won't see the driver. So if we like record it in a way that driver was visible, that is not ethical. So before starting, we just understand that where to put the camera, so in which angle that driver won't be visible. So because it's not, I mean, like we could train another thing on that, right? Having a driver's face when they're just coming inside. So that is the thing that I'm working currently.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Maral. What about the ethics about collecting and data collecting and usage in politics? And are there any regulations, laws, international regulations and laws according to this? I know that we haven't in Armenia such laws, but are there in USA, as this kind of data usage was, as I know, started from 2012 and maybe earlier?
Thank you for a good question. Actually, yes. GDPR is the general data protection rules and regulations. And that political thing that you're mentioning, right, Facebook did something like that. And they closed the Cambridge Analytica because they used American citizens' data as for political campaign advertisement. So that is the thing that it's not ethical, right? Because people were knowing about that. If they knew, for example, if people know that they're using their data and they're okay with that, I mean, the thing that you see when you're just going to an application and there is a big text and we never read it, right? And in that big text, they say, we use your data, and we all just like accept. We don't care what is written there, but if we just read that, we will understand that they were asking from us, can we use your data or not? And we were just wanted to just go to that application or just like having a Facebook, having an account, and we just accept that. So that is not right to just use the data against you to change your mind. That is not ethical. Actually, now there is a lot of conference, international conference, that they're talking about ethics, and they're mentioning this issue that data science and ethical things shouldn't harm people, shouldn't harm users. For example, Netflix is really good because it's a recommendation system. It doesn't hurt your feelings, right? It recommends you something that you will like most, but you would spend more time for just searching and figuring out what you want to watch next. So that is the thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we cannot take any more questions. Thank you very much,
Thank you. We can discuss that during the networking sessions. Thank you.
The thing I was wanted to say. Thanks a lot.